Hey yo, it's Arshawn Law, and this is my plant-based diet video. So apparently there's this thing called carcinogenic that's in all of the meats that y'all are eating. And group 1 is considered as processed meat. Group 2 is considered as red meat. The American Cancer Society, American Diabetes Association, and the American Heart Association are all promoting these foods as if they're healthy. It's almost like they're treating sick people and not preventing people from becoming sick. The cause of diabetes, clogged arteries, high blood pressure, and obesity is all linked to the food that y'all are eating. Diabetes is caused by buildup of fat into the blood from eating a meat-based diet. The fat is what's causing insulin resistance. So the sugars that's naturally supposed to get into your blood cells aren't going to where they're actually supposed to be. So the sugars is not what's causing the clogging. More carbs and starch equals less diabetes. Carbs don't make you fat. We have storage in our liver and muscles for carbs, which is called glycogen, and this can be stored or either burned off. But when it comes down to eating a meat-based diet, it's pretty much like a slow death sentence. Y'all ain't doing nothing but just getting diseases from the food that y'all eat. Like if you have a sugar cookie, the butter and the shortening from the cake is what's making people fat, not the actual sugar that's on the cookie. Sugar doesn't cause inflammation right away. It's mainly the processed meats that's causing the cancer, which is also being linked to diabetes. The sugars is not. And it's the meats that's causing the inflammation, stiffness in the arteries, the inability to relax. Alzheimer's and dementia is pretty much caused from having small blood vessels. And then the vessels in your brain start to clog up, which can affect your nerve cells and also shorten up the oxygen to your brain. And I know people like to say that chicken and turkey may be better because it's white meat, but really out of comparison to all the other meats, the leading source of sodium is chicken. Like the package that you may get from the store may say all natural, but best believe it's injected with 800 milligrams of sodium. And apparently carcinogen can be found in any kind of meat whenever it's being cooked. And the biggest source is chicken. Eating a lot of chicken and beef is linked to having high cholesterol, especially if you're eating the skin off the chicken too. And when it comes down to eggs, the yolk is considered saturated fat, pure fat with no outside energy. It coats our red blood cells and it also makes the blood thicker, which raises cholesterol. Yeah, nothing really too healthy about eating eggs. They're considered the #1 saturated fat in dairy. And when it comes down to the dairy, it's pretty much just processed chemicals and carcinogen toxins. It's almost like they're trying to confuse everyone, having people thinking that chicken is better than beef and fish is better than chicken. Or they'll throw something out like 7 reasons not to avoid meat, but then turn around and flip it and tell you 14 reasons to stop eating meat. But it's like we may carry on bad lifestyles from our families, thinking it's normal to eat what's being passed down. Even though we may have grown up eating all of this stuff we probably shouldn't be eating, we still have time to make change and to make adjustments. Making adjustments to reverse your blood cells. So now when it comes down to eating fish, they're pretty much just mercury sponges, and they tend to have saturated fat and PCBs, and not to mention pesticides and herbicides. Fish can tend to get infections too. Now when it comes down to dioxin exposure, this can be found in dairy products and meats. The dioxin floats into the atmosphere and then eventually it hits the grass that the cows are eating, which gets stored into the cow's fat, which is obviously eventually consumed by any human that goes on to intake this into their body. And apparently males can't get rid of it. When it comes to females, they can get rid of it, but by being pregnant. The dioxin still has to go somewhere, so obviously it'll end up going through the fetus, or it can come out through breastfeeding. So all dairy and meat consuming mothers will eventually pass the dioxin down to the infant. That's one way you can get rid of it. And when it comes down to the commercial animals, they're being fed GMO corn and soy, along with any type of pesticides that may be being sprayed around the area. And really organic fields technically aren't organic. Not if you got dioxin floating around in the atmosphere and eventually landing into the grass. Now when it comes down to cheese, it's a highly processed food product, and it naturally have a lot of salt and fat within it. And this is what can cause a buildup of mucus, asthma, multiple sclerosis, and also type 1 diabetes. Cow milk is made for baby calf growth. No human or child on earth needs milk from a cow. All I drink is almond milk. Why do you think so many people are lactose intolerant? It's like they're encouraging y'all to eat the food that make y'all ill, so it can better their farm, so it can better their families. And at the end of the day, milk really is just sex hormones. It ain't nothing but pus. Cheese, it ain't nothing but cow pus. Milk don't give you strong bones. It give you arthritis. They lied. Putting it on posters, targeting us as kids when we was in school. This is all a myth. Milk ain't gonna do nothing but cause a higher risk for heel fracture. It do not protect the bones. And for males, when you intake dairy, it increases the risk of you having prostate cancer by 34%. And for the females, it can increase the risk of having breast cancer by 49%. And matter of fact, if you go into the stores and you go down a yogurt aisle, you can see a pink ribbon on some of the yogurt products that these stores are selling. Cheese has this chemical called casein. It's equal to morphine. It attaches to the same receptors that the drug heroin attaches to. Not as strong, but it's enough to keep you coming back. And due to research, dairy has been linked up to having autism also, even sudden infant death syndrome. Human milk equals up to 2.7 grams of casein, and cow milk apparently equals up to 26 grams of casein. That's almost 10 times more than a human. And apparently if you live around a swine spray field, you're most likely to have a MRSA infection. It's almost like they're more interested in making more money first, not feeding the world. Because if they did, then they would be telling you information like this. Like, we would be better off eating corn, wheat, veggies, and fruits. But on top of that, the pollution from the animal agriculture is the leading cause of forest destruction, species extinction, having ocean dead zones. You can reverse diabetes by eating a plant-based diet. It's like they want people to live longer with diabetes, not find a cure to eliminate it. Cow milk is not supposed to be in the human bloodstream because your body ends up making antibodies to attack the milk protein, which ends up attacking the pancreas. It's like they want y'all to eat and to take food and fluids that links up to diseases. The Food Society gets sponsored by food companies like Tyson, KFC, Pizza Hut, Domino's, Taco Bell, Kraft, Velveeta, Oscar Mayer, Lunchables, Bumblebee and Yoplait, even Subway, Purdue, Nestle, and Kellogg. The Food Society Association is taking money from the food companies and sponsoring it upon their websites. So it's a big cycle of scamming going on. And if we stop it, then it'll be the end of their jobs and their money. And apparently at the American Health Association meetings, they still be serving chicken, beef, and fish at these meetings. That's like going to a AAA meeting and having them serve alcohol. And on the flip side, it's like hospitals are more interested in making profit rather than people's actual health. We're getting our dietary recommendations from the same people that's killing y'all. The USDA supposed to be protecting us, but nah, at the end of the day, they really about protecting the producer. And apparently the dietary program gave $12 million to Domino's Pizza to market cheese. It ain't nothing but an ad scheme. Even when it comes down to the coffee, they trying to get y'all to add more milk to the coffee. They ain't doing nothing but feeding y'all garbage, targeting children so they can get them while they young, when the food is leading up to diseases, and the diseases is leading up to having to take medications. The pharmaceutical industry is a billion-dollar industry. The research isn't being put into prevention, it's being put into the medication use for a particular disease. They got y'all taking drugs forever. The strategy is about manipulating the symptoms, not dealing with the root cause. When it comes to treating diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, it's a $1.5 trillion industry. So the agriculture and the pharmaceutical industry ties all in together. The animal waste ends up everywhere with fecal bacteria. 88% of pork chops is contaminated. 90% of ground beef and 95% of chicken breast contains animal waste. It's nothing clean about it. And they're also filled with pus infections. You don't have to eat meat to get complete protein. All protein is made up by plants. It's not necessary to eat animal tissue. Plants take nitrogen from the air, breaks the molecules apart, and then start to incorporate the nitrogen, and then flip that into amino acids, which makes the protein. And any protein from an animal is technically recycled plant protein. Beans are loaded with protein. Plant proteins have more of a beneficial effect to our physiology. You don't need chicken or beef to be strong. The biggest and strongest animals on this planet are all herbivores. If you intake a plant-based diet, your vitamin intake is going to skyrocket and your nutrients goes up dramatically. The food that you eat determines the bacteria that lies in your gut. When you intake animal flesh, it summons up bacteria, and that bacteria eats up carnitine. The bacteria turn the carnitine into this thing called trimethylene, which is trimethylene oxidase, which apparently drives cholesterol into the artery walls, which leads up to plaque buildup and clog your arteries. We're frugivores, not omnivores. Omnivores have more acid in their stomach to digest meat. We're not true omnivores. You can stop and reverse heart disease by switching over to a plant-based diet. Your cholesterol levels will plummet within a few days to 2 weeks to clear it out of your whole system. You'll be able to cut down on taking medications. And the side effects of being on a plant-based diet is having to not take drugs. We're not supposed to be treating diseases with drugs. You're supposed to be making a change within your diet. As within, so without. As above, so below. Give your body a chance to heal itself so we can equal up to less heart disease, less diabetes, and less cancer. What kind of blood do you want in your body? White rice, fruit, and table sugar can reverse heart disease and also blindness due to studies. Let's all get animal products out of our body and eat healthier. But at the same time, technically everything that we eat is a form of bacteria. So it's technically no such thing as eating healthy. But there's a such thing as knowing better and doing better. We're not gonna live forever, but I know for the most part for me, I wanna live well while I'm here experiencing this experience. And by the way, when you die, your spirit ain't gonna do nothing but create another body. But that's another video. And it's almost like I wanna say being on a plant-based diet could be the cure for cancer. And to add on to that, we all know whenever it's a will, it's always a way. And I'm scoping out all possibilities over here. Y'all stay up but stay down. Arshawn Law, plant-based diet video. I'm out.